And hi, everybody. Welcome to Rick Snider's Washington, where you get the whole story. So please like, share, subscribe, and comment. I'll let the room fill up before we get going. Come on, Steve. Where are you? Lots to talk about between the draft, and the new stadium. These kind of things. And here we go. Who's first in today? Come on, Steve. I'm rooting for you. Who is it? I don't know, but they gave me a thumbs up, so I do appreciate that. I don't know why it's not showing me who's in the room. Mr. T. Morrow. T.O. Morrow. All right, you're first in this week. George. Oh, Steve, you're third. Okay. Mikey P. He's my cousin. Guess he got nothing better to do. All that. So, Mike was one of the great high school football players. Just so you guys don't harass him. All right. Let's see. Things really weird. Okay. It's telling me. All right. Here we go. Now the numbers are starting to show up now. All right. So, I don't know if everybody saw the press conference today, but it was a good one. I said it was a master class in press conferences, one of the better ones I've seen in quite a while. Mayor Bowser, I thought, did a really good job of defending her position on spending money like this. Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner, was there. Didn't really say as much, although the one thing he did say was somebody says, "This is a better." John Keim of ESPN asked him, "Does this mean that Washington's got a better odds of getting the Super Bowl?" And Goodell said, "Oh yeah, dramatically more." Well, I think we were at a 1% chance before, so even say if it's 10, we've improved it by 10 times. But he kind of laughed. I think it's a possibility with this. It'll be a while, but they always do. They like to do this to try and throw money back into the local community that's had to spend all this money to build a stadium. And then, of course, Josh Harris represented the team as the managing partner. And really, it was really Bowser's day to talk on all of this. And she kind of laid a lot of it out. So between her release and what she said, the number 65,000 seats, which is pretty much what everybody has been expecting. You saw some rendering pictures. None of them are officials. They're ideas. I really like, and I've seen many different versions of this renderings, where the end zone facing the west is a big glass. And so you can see the U.S. Capitol into the city and such. It's going to have some kind of roof, whatever it's made of. We don't know yet. But the only concern then would be facing the west could be at certain times of year. The sunset could really be nailing you, but we'll see. Hopefully they looked at Dallas and figured that one out. All right, here's the one that everybody really is going to be upset about. 8,000 parking spaces versus 22,000 at Northwest Stadium. I don't have the old RFK number, but obviously it was a lot more than 8,000. Of the 8,000, well, you figure the team itself is probably going to use several hundred. And then, the sweet people who are getting the sweet spots, Joe Blow, there'll be a few of you in there with your tailgates. Tailgate Ted, I guess we'll be able to do it, but what's it going to cost? I mean, if it's $50 now, I wouldn't be surprised if it's $150 in 5 years to have a tailgate spot inside this new venue. And I think it's going to be lot 8 down on the river. It is a 30% of the land, and it's 180 acres overall that Josh Harris is getting to develop. 30% of it, which is I'm 54 acres, is like wetlands and stuff. So they're not touching every ounce of the land around here. The mayor thought they could do 6,000 housing units on this property. And there's this thing called Kingman Island, just north of the stadium. They've been trying to develop Kingman Island, I know of, for at least 40 years. I've written about different projects. So, that they're going into that situation too. And you're on the Anacostia, which is not a very deep river, to be honest. I don't know if we call it low tide or not, but I've been on that river in a small boat. And I can tell you, when the water's low, maybe a drought or something, you can almost walk across that river over there at that point. So, I will say, if somebody was telling, I think it was JP Finley who made a joke about we should have boat dating and people put their boats up there and all that. That'd be kind of cool. Tailgate Ted, be Captain Tailgate Ted, I guess. on there. Let's see. Let's talk money for a minute. 3.7 billion overall projects. This better be a nice place. The city's chipping in about 900 million. A lot of that is going to be coming from ticket prices and all that jazz, ticket taxes. But Josh Harrison team is going to invest 2.7 billion, which the mayor said is the largest private investment in the city's history. So, man, I give Harris credit. Puts his money up. I mean, there's money to be made because he's going to get developmental rights to a lot of this stuff too. I mean, Dan Snider talked about that, but that's how it all be able to be paid for. Now, here's the caveat before you start screaming. I mean, besides the parking situation, you're going to have to take most of the people are going to have to take Metro. Um, but there's a couple things in there. One is the city council has to approve it by at least a 7-6 vote. There were 4 council people at the rah-rah session downtown today, which means they need to find 3 more, or else they'd be there. And that's not going to be easy. And I know Chairman of the City Council, Phil Mendelson, kind of has some reservations. Of course he is. Listen, it's going to cost a lot of money to get those last votes. And I'm not talking cash in an envelope. I'm talking, well, we need a community center, or we need this project, or we need that. Because those people aren't giving away their votes. They're going to leverage them for something in their community. That happened with the Nats Park when they did it. Man, Mayor Barry, who was then a councilman, strangled his way to get that 7-6 vote. And everybody wanted the Nats to come. Some businesses don't want to do it, but I think they're looking shorthanded at it. But businesses in DC are in real trouble right now with all these government layoffs and such. I mean, they did a poll of restaurant owners that 2 out of every 5 restaurants in DC expect to close this year. Oh my God. 40% of the restaurants are thinking they're going to close. They can't keep up with a lot of this. Wow. So business community is going to be, but here's the thing, because it's on the metro and it's in the city. What happened in the old days of RFK was people like went to brunch at these restaurants downtown, or they stayed at whatever hotel they wanted downtown, just jumped on the metro and got to the stadium. It wasn't hard. You didn't have to worry about traffic or any of that. It was an easy peasy thing. So, Dizzy, I don't know. My suite's going to be on the 50 probably. I don't know, 50-yard line of my living room. I don't know. I kind of laugh because I was thinking this is in 5 years. They expect to open in 2030. I don't know that I'm covering a team in 5 years. Hopefully I'm alive in 5 years. I'm getting old, sorry. So I don't know that I'll see the inside of this next stadium. Maybe we'll see. I'll ask God later. Yeah, George, there is Metro. There'll be a lot of Metro buses and trains. I'm sure they're going to dedicate a lot of lanes to move people in. This is about 9,000 people more than the old RFK had. So you got to be a little more creative. But, this is why everybody wanted it there. It's a mass transit site. Yes, it's got the history and all that. But those guys, Charles Mann and Manley and, Dexter, they're not coming back to play. So, now luckily the team's looking pretty good right now. But if you think the magic of the 70s and 80s is going to happen again, just because they're on there's nothing in the water there. Well, there is, but you don't want to drink it. That doesn't mean they're going to be great again like the old days. Gibbs was there today. When Rigo was there today, I thought, okay, this is getting serious if Rigo is going to be doing this. What's the name of the stadium going to be, George? I don't know, but here's my thought on the one thing. I can't imagine RFK is going to be part of the stadium's name. Now, what I've heard is a possibility of the grounds, like all those wetlands, they're going to create parks, and they're going to put the park's name as RFK somehow, the RFK ground, the gardens, whatever. Because let's just say, for instance, Pepsi got the name. It's going to be Pepsi Stadium at RFK. What are you going to say? You're going to say RFK. I'm going to say RFK. No one's going to say Pepsi. And Pepsi's going to get gypped out of a lot of money. And they're not stupid enough to do this. So that's why I don't think that we're going to see, RFK on the actual stadium name. It's fair enough, I guess. And listen, RFK is not the most beloved figure in Washington history. They named it RFK as a political screw you to LBJ, who wanted it named after him. And to make a long story short, it was a political payback, real backstabbing that got that name over to RFK instead of LBJ because they knew it would really tick them off. And the Kennedy people, who still had a lot of sway in the government, did a last minute deal on this and then called LBJ as he's driving to Nixon's inaugural and said, "Hey, you know that stadium you want named after you? Yeah, great. It ain't happening. We named it RFK. See ya, click." I mean, it was like in the movies, a Godfather ending. So RFK gets moved over, I think, a little bit. Didn't get to ask, but there are two big statues there. There's an RFK bust uh, that done by Burks. It's really famous. Where's that going? And then there's is it Clark Griffith, I think, is still there too. Where's that one going? That's the baseball one. And they got rid of George Preston Marshall. Now, let's see. Todd, you're going to be old in 2030, man. 47. Wow. I've nominated on it. I mean, I'm sorry, Todd. That's sad to hear. Let's see. Okay, getting a question. Do I have any more things? They do expect $4 billion of revenues out of all this. 14,000 jobs to build it, 2,000 to be permanent jobs in the area. Let's see. Anything else? Nah, pretty much. Okay, so that's the particulars of the new stadium. We'll get to the draft in a few minutes. Joe Gibbs Field at Commanders. No, Todd, because listen, this thing's going to cost $3.7 billion. That's probably Mike Myers probably uses both hands for a billion. You got to get some of that money back from the naming rights. Oh, how did I forget this? PSLs. That dirty word came up today, and it looks like PSLs are going to be part of this because it's $3.7 billion. How you get your money back? Well, PSLs are one, and man, it's going to be expensive. To me, don't buy, I mean, season tickets are nice, but go to the secondary market and get it. Don't be paying PSLs. That's just money that gives you a right to buy the tickets. Screw that. And prices are going to be high. I mean, let's be honest. You want this kind of world-class venue, you got to pay for it. And the middle class and lower class fans are going to get forced out. You'll be lucky to you'll pick a favorite game every year to go to, but you're not going to be sitting there all the time. It's just way too much. Sonny Jurgensen Stadium, no. It's going to be named after some corporation. We're going to be, Apple Stadium or something. That's what it's going to be. Let's see. George, you're going to be almost my age by then? Wow, sucker. Guess we won't see you much longer. When I'm getting ready to turn 65, and when I was a kid, honestly, if someone said they were 65, especially man, you really thought not going to see him much longer, and didn't. But now people live longer, so maybe I'll live longer. Wouldn't that be nice? Who else is going to do this for you? I don't see anybody else in the media doing this. Well, John does, but he does a different type of show. All right, Suzanne, Jerry Jones makes 10 mil alone on stadium tours. Yeah, isn't that amazing? Harris needs to do more of the same. Charge 70 a person. Well, I'll send your suggestion over to Josh. Sean Taylor's little brother is coming in for a tryout in Washington. That's right, Mike. So Gabe chose Washington over several other teams to come in on rookie camp, which is end of next week, and see if he can get a invitation, some kind of thing. Honestly, I know the story wants to be done well with Sean's death and all to bring in Gabe. If I was Gabe, I'd go to another team. But I'm not Gabe. So if this is what he wants to do, I wish him the best of luck, and hopefully I'll talk to him next week. Todd, my mom and I go to one game a year from Delaware. Oh, since 2022. So you're really long invested in this. There used to be, in the old days when the team was great, people drove from North Carolina. They drive like 8 hours to come to games. A lot of people. I once met two guys when I had to cover the Breeders' Cup in Miami the day before. I got on a 6 a.m. flight to come back to cover the game up here. And I met two guys, geezers down there, who flew every game, Washington game, flew there 6 a.m., flew to Washington, took the metro over and saw the game, then metro back to National and flew home. They did every home game every season. I mean, wow, that's commitment. So people did, and maybe they'll come back again. Slam and Jammin's here. Well, we must be busy tonight, huh? Let's see. Saw that. Well, there's RFK Stadium rendering. Let me just say again, it's not an official. This is what they're doing. They're still going through ideas, but it looked beautiful. I'll give it that. It would be great if they did that. Um, okay, let's see. Steve, corporate name stadium at RFK. No, and I just said that because you're going to say RFK. You're not going to say, Pepsi Corporation at RFK. You're going to say RFK, and they're going to get screwed out of the impact of their money. When Pepsi got naming rights in Denver for an arena, everybody called it the Pop Can, which really ticked Pepsi off. They want you to say Pepsi. They're paying millions of dollars. They want you to say Pepsi, not Pop Can. And back there in Denver, they call soda pop. People want to say, "You want a pop?" No, I don't want, it's not too cold. I don't want. No, it's soda. Who knew? You people say it wrong. It's soda. Gregory, do you think Maryland and Virginia are officially out? Well, nothing's official till dirt moves. I've got a bet on where the stadium's going, and someone was crazy enough to bet Virginia against me, and he's sending me a note today saying no dirt's moved yet. I'm like, I agree. God, I've made this bet like at least 5 years ago. I'm going to have to order something important for this. Sorry, it's been a hot day. Possibly a Summer Olympics site. Well, George, it could be, but most people in the town are like, it's going to be awful traffic. Gee, how's that going for you since everybody went back to work here in Washington? Because I tell you, on my side of town, it really sucks. And I think it sucks everywhere around town, everybody going back to work. Whether that was the right thing to do, I'm not talking. I'm just saying the traffic is awful. So what the heck? If we could get an Olympic bid here, great. And you don't like it, go on vacation for a couple of weeks. I know Leon just really tried to back that in. It just didn't happen. I don't expect to see it anytime soon. World Cup, I understand wants 80,000 seats for their stuff. So I don't know if that'll happen. Super Bowl, I think you have to have 70. There's a way to squeeze 5,000 more seats and things. Temporary bleachers. Domino's Pizza Stadium. Well, there you go. At least that's what, could be called Domino's Pizza Park. I don't know. Mike, how far in advance do you know about this announcement? It came out yesterday, so I don't remember what time. I have been colossally busy with other things. And remember how I said this year I was not going to spend my whole life about the Commanders, and then it's time for me to start bridging to other things. And yesterday was one of those days. One of my best friends retired as a preacher, so I went to hear his last sermon, and we did stuff. So I was in and out of things. So I know that they gave a heads up to people, and then somebody always breaks the embargo, and they know the team will be mad at them. They don't care. They want to be first. So I used to. Well, I never broke an embargo, but I can appreciate wanting to be first. Mike, DC has always been the fourth worst traffic city. Really? Okay. New York, LA, and who's the other one? Chicago. Chicago traffic's really bad too. Name me a big city in this country where traffic is not a problem on there. I'll go move there. I was in LA a couple months ago. I was on the 405 at rush hour, and it was a parking lot. But honestly, no worse than DC. Yeah. So I think I missed a couple questions out there. I'm sorry if I missed yours. Throw it out there again. And we're at the quarter pole already. So this is where I'm a whore, and I just say, please give me money because I don't do this I do this for free. I'm thinking about going to a paid one this fall. To be honest, I got added expenses unexpectedly, and I don't want to talk about that, but money's always appreciated. So if you see the dollar sign down below, feel free to hit it. You guys used to do it. You don't do it much anymore. And here's my Venmo and PayPal. If you just like to bypass the mean old people here, take part of it. There's another way to hit it. Todd, thank you. Take $6. I'll take $6. Whatever. You know what $6 buys today? $2. That's from Saturday Night Fever, for those of you who don't know it. Steve, so I guess either Super Bowl 65 or 66 is the earliest. I don't know. What number are we on now? I lose track of these things. But anyway, 5 years, probably 5. Because if a stadium opens 2030, they don't want to give it to you right away because you got to work out the kinks. Let the paint dry. But within a couple of years of that, it's possible. 32. Man, I'll really be old then. If Super Bowl come to my hometown, I'll be too old to go do it. Maybe, maybe not. I walked 100,000 steps 2 weeks ago for the whole week. Did a couple tours. Did 100,000 steps in a week. And then last week I goofed off, and I did 85,000 steps. So I tell people, I can outwalk anybody. I can't outrun anybody, but I can outwalk a lot. Robert, I heard they were building parking garages. Yeah, they're going to be spending like $175 million on parking garages, of which the city will own. So, all right. Todd, yep, John Travolta. He was the one that was making $3 more, and his dad said, "Yeah, you know what $3 is worth? $2." Yeah, Travolta. That was around 78 or so. At least I'm getting cardio. That's right, Steve. Yeah, and it hadn't gotten really hot here yet either. So I don't mind doing it. 100,000 in July. It's a little sweaty. Dizzy's here. All right. Do you think it'll be the state of the art or will it cut corners? Well, I know they'll want it to be state of the art, and then we'll see how the money flows. And we're kind of worried about things in this city like recession. So money is always good until then. I mean, the mayor laughed today and said they got plenty of money. Really? Where? The city lost its AAA bond rating a couple of days ago, which means when they have to borrow money, it's going to cost a lot more. That's not a good thing when you're looking to borrow $500 million. I mean, they got lawyers; they'll figure stuff out, and accountants how to do this stuff. But I don't think the city's flush with cash. And tourism, since I'm a tour guide too, I can tell you, tourism funds a lot of things. But we're not seeing the international people this year because of all the politics and stuff going on. We're not seeing them, and that's significant money. So we'll see. I did like how Josh Harris talked about, this is the nation's capital, and we should have one of the finest venues around. I totally agree with you, man. We're the nation's capital. We're a world capital. Whether you debate about certain things, history shows that Washington, D.C. matters worldwide. So why not have something that we're proud of? Hollywood. Can you remember the last Washington team to win a championship game at home? Maybe Sammy Ball. Well, I mean, the Super Bowls were never at home. I know the 37 game was not at home. I can't remember where the 42 championship game was, but I don't think it was here. So they didn't. So I don't think, I mean, a championship game. What has there been? One team win a Super Bowl at home, that was theirs. So it's pretty hard to happen. Dizzy, off topic. What was your final draft grade for the Commanders? I did a video this morning. I gave them a B. I mean, it's 5, but if we look at it a different way, they got 3 starters using draft picks. Lattimore, Tunsil, and Debo. They got through the draft picks. So if we add those 3 guys to the 5 they just took, they had a bad haul. I mean, and then I'll say the first round pick kind of surprised me a little bit because I just figured with Tunsil they weren't going to be drafting a tackle. Now, Peters likes to say this guy's the greatest thing ever to walk on earth. Of course, that's what general managers say. They're not going to say, but I remember Andre Johnson. I was a beat writer back then in the 90s. This team traded up to Dallas to get him in the last pick of the first round. And he never played for him, and they cut him a year later because he just didn't care anymore. He reminded me so much of a 16-year-old who was burned out and just wanted to go, get a girlfriend and goof off and stop playing sports. But they paid him so much money, he had to take it. So he was gone here after a year, and then he played like 2 or 3 games for Detroit, and then he was gone from the NFL. He just didn't want to play anymore. It does happen to players. They burn out. Let's see. Gregory, I expecting more drafting of defensive end. Yeah, that's the one hole here. They didn't take a defensive end anywhere. They got a running back, 7th round. Everybody's raving about him, but dude, it's a 7th round running back here. I'm not expecting him to knock Brian Robinson off. If he adds to the team, great. I think their 2nd rounder, Amos, looks like a nice pick on there. Of course, Peter's like, oh, he was a 1st round pick on our board, so we really stole it from everybody. And whatever. Yeah, that's all lip service. But I mean, he's a nice player. on there. Abe, thank you so much for throwing in. I do appreciate it. Thoughts on trying to bolster the edges? Well, Peter said that they're not done, that they still could sign a veteran or two, but there's nobody out there that's the second coming of LT or whatever. So I guess that's a position for next year to worry about. I am a little surprised they didn't do more defensive end. I will say that on the pass rush. But, the back seven got better. They took a linebacker in the draft too. So, they got some things. I guess they're going to rely on the back seven a lot more. I mean, usually you build titles up front. There's the big fat guys that win for you. But you can't get it all, I guess, especially when they have 5 picks. Steve, the Rams and Bucks won Super Bowl. Okay, 2 of them. All right, I remember the Bucks did. I forgot the Rams. Abe, okay, so I said thanks to Abe, but I'll say it again. Thanks, Abe. George, beer at the new stadium will be $50 by 2030. Well, what's it now? 15, right? I don't drink beer at the stadium. I'm working. 25 wouldn't surprise me, though. I don't think it'd be 50. They're big cans, too. They're like, I don't know, 24-ounce cans. I had one at a Defenders game. Not this year, but and they're enormous, so they can charge more that way. Hopefully all the old beer is gone from Dan Snyder's reign and got new fresh beer at least. Let's see, Steve, all those other stadiums will be done and open. Buffalo, that's going to be cool to have a new one in Buffalo. Tennessee, their stadium aged quickly. Chicago, I don't know where they want to build. They're talking about the suburbs again. Cleveland's going to have court stuff going on. And Jacksonville, I don't know where they stand on theirs. Hollywood, Bullets, Caps, and Nats all won on the road. Yeah, I remember when the Bullets won. Yeah, the Caps won. Okay, yeah, you're right. Steve, $12 at Nats Park. Wow, that's a value. My daughter took her grandkids yesterday. Took my grandkids to the Nats game, and they were telling me about it tonight. They're like, we're down 5-0 in the first. I thought, I think the Nats lost. They gave up 19 runs tonight. I think it was that. Whew. But they did win on a walk-off in the ninth yesterday. The Nats are hanging in there. They're close to 500 despite an awful bullpen. My grandson's 5. He's going to be starting T-ball. And I've been pitching to him in the backyard. And one day I just said to him, turn around, go on the left side of the plate. Let me see if you can hit it. He's nailed the first 4 pitches. And I thought, ooh, we got a switch hitter. The question I'll put out to you is, do I just make him a left-handed hitter? Because Mickey Mantle's dad did this. Mickey Mantle was right-handed. His dad said, you hit left, you're one step closer to first base. Think of all the hits you can eke out that way. So I was pitching to him again tonight for the show, and he did pretty decent with it. He's a natural baseball player at 5. I can see it. I'd rather have him be a left-handed hitter than a switch hitter, to be honest. I just think it'd be more overall. But anybody out there know the answer to that? Brian, long-time fan reception with PSLs in a new stadium? Yes, there'll be PSLs are coming, and it's a big check. You're going to be paying four figures from the low to the middle end of 4 figures if you have that kind of money. I mean, I've heard $50,000, but I have not heard that from anybody official about it. That's just conjecture. But, I mean, that's for like the premium suites or whatever. Well, those checks are written by law firms in this town. And they'll just write it off on their taxes, and you and I will pay for it. But the law firms, the politicians, the money people in town, the oligarchs that seem to be coming now, Bezos and now some other rich guys are just buying big homes. That's who's going to be in this ballpark. Congress, you'd be amazed at RFK days how many people, House of Reps and senators, came to the games there. Now, the team was really good. They live a lot of their year here, in Congress, and they became Redskins fans because of that, and especially ones that didn't have a pro team in their state. So you'd be amazed how many politicians are at games. And they're the ones that can afford all this because they'll figure out a way to write it off taxes and screw us. But Joe Blow, you guys that are making, decent money maybe, but you're going to have to just pick a game or two a year to go to. It's the harsh truth. It really is. This stuff is for rich folk. It's not for everyday people. And the damn shame of that is sports was built by everyday people in this country. As a Marylander myself, piece of me is happy it's in DC just from the tax revenue standpoint of my taxes don't have to go pay for a new stadium that I can't afford as a person to go watch or take my kids or any of that. It's ridiculous. The dirty truth of it is TV pays everything for the NFL. If they let the doors open for free and let you eat free, they'd still make money. So this is all gravy and greed. Never forget that. Dan Snyder made it more obvious than others. Dan Snyder was like, "How much money you got? Why didn't you bring more? I need more money from you. You got a credit card?" I mean, that's what Dan Snyder saw fans as ATMs. And now at the stadium, you do have to. You can only pay by credit card. If you come to Commanders games this fall, never been, bring your credit card because you can't pay cash, which I think is ridiculous. I'm very much against that. That's discriminatory against people who have like bad credit and can't get credit cards. So, all right, Greg. Well, I've got off on that bender, huh? Greg, is it a blessing that we have RFK site versus still hunting? Well, I'm glad it's finally. I mean, how many years has this gone? Of course, Jack Kent Cook's search went from 88 to 95. So you spent all those years, a bunch of different places, So this one is much quicker. Mike, the Federal Reserve, Alan Greenspan was always in Snyder's box. Okay. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I know some DC politicians, councilmen and all were there too. I'd see them come out. Perhaps we should have picked up the quarterback Sanders as a backup. George, no. I mean, that's people want to say it's an ugly, discriminatory thing against Dion's boy. But when I heard he blew the interviews, and that's just the way it goes. Steve, when the Caps won the Stanley Cup 40th anniversary of the Bullets winning the championship. Wow, I forgot about that. I remember I think I was 18 or 19 when they won. FedEx Field is trash, but George, it's not called that anymore. And we got all new duct tape, so they're good. That's the thing you wonder about now with Josh Harris. He's been spending over $100 million a year fixing up FedEx. How long do you keep doing that knowing you're leaving? A lot of you, if you sell your home, you don't even change the light bulbs if you don't have to before you leave. You just figure it's money lost. What about Cap One Arena deal? Are you still going to do it? Yeah, yeah. Internet, that's done. This is a whole new deal. Joe, I'm worried regular folk like me won't be able to afford to go. Correct. Correct. You're going to get to go here and there, but you'd have to put substantial resources to going every game. I'm sorry to say that. I'm going to be old, so I don't care. Let's see. Suzanne, 70,000 versus 17 million watching. Yeah. It's all about TV and all these sponsors' money and all. It's not about gate receipts. And yet they still want that money too. Gregory, if you were governor of Maryland tonight, how mad would you be? I'd be saying, phew, I look like I really tried, but I don't have to pay the bill now. I think Wes Moore, listen, Maryland's got some major financial problems thanks to this governor who took a $2 billion surplus and turned it into like $5 billion in debt in a couple of years. So I'm sure he would have liked it, but man, he spent enough of our money. Maryland just took over the horse racing industry, going to build a brand new racetrack, among other things. So they've got a lot of money invested in sports already. Listen, Wes Moore was around a lot to try and make this deal happen. But in the other part of this is they're going to inherit the old stadium site. That was part of the original agreement way back in '97. So, they're going to win some of this too. Yeah, Hassani, Josh Harris said he's going to make ticks affordable. Affordable to who? Rich folk? Yeah, rich folk figure they're affordable. I can pay that. Poor people, no. But, since when's anything affordable to the working class anymore? And for those of you who think, oh, the media is not working class, yes, it is. Even worse so now than years ago. I couldn't have stayed as long in the media at the end. I'm between getting laid off a lot too, but one reason I tour guide is because of the money. So media, most of the media, guys you see on TV, that's different. They're TV stars. Yeah, they get paid a lot. But the average guy covering stuff in your local newspaper, not making anything. Not really. I hate to say it. It's true. And they're not working 40 hours for it either. They're working 60 to 80. That's how I had a heart attack doing that. All right. Man, I'm in a mood tonight, huh? Okay. Let's see. Steve, gonna have to win the lotto to go see a game. Well, if you win the lottery, maybe you can be a minority owner. I mean, the team's now worth more than the $6 billion Josh paid for it. It's probably worth a couple billion more now. So for $800 million, you could be a 10% winner, owner of the team. Think of that. No place, since there's no place to tailgate at the new stadium, will they build places where people can go eat and drink? Yes. Answer that. That's the whole point. That way, instead of you bringing your own food and drink to the parking lot and eating it there, you get to come into these places and spend money. Works well at Camden Yards that way. Gregory, you think Maryland and Virginia could still pull rabbit out of the hat? Nope. Gone. Gone. It's never going to happen in Virginia anyway. Look what happened with the Wiz Caps deal for the arena. That fell through in a 5 minute. So Virginia doesn't want to spend money. Virginia's legislature in Richmond does not want to spend money in Northern Virginia, especially on sports projects. Been proven before. The old Redskins Stadium was going to go there too, back at one point. Not happening. Joe, I did like that Josh Harris said on Fox News that RFK name will be incorporated into the new stadium somehow. I think it's just going to be the grounds around it or something. They've got to have 54 acres of wetlands, which is a substantial amount along the river. I've heard about somehow connecting RFK's name to that more. So they're not using RFK. I'm sorry. They're not going to use RFK. They're not. My thing was when they built the new Wilson Bridge south of town years ago, I thought we should have taken the president's name off it and sold it to Verizon or somebody. Why not? There's the Verizon Bridge. It'd be called that on all the traffic reports. And then maybe we as taxpayers could get $100 million back of our money building that bridge. And everybody thought it was nuts, but I think it was brilliant. What do you think the new stadium will be? 757 Outlaw King. I have zero idea. Maybe it'd be called DraftKings Park or something. I mean, that's way too early to know. Cook failed in Virginia too, right? Yeah, he did the same mistake Williams just did. They trusted a governor, it couldn't deliver. Joe Harris said the Redskins name is not returning. Correct. But when I think about the old logo needs to return, I think you're going to see the logo on gear at times, but you're not going to see, for like what they call it, nostalgia, throwback stuff. But you're not going to see the name come back. No. Hollywood owners are cutting off tailgating so fans are forced to eat in the stadium. Correct. I mean, you don't have to drink 12 beers before you go in a game. I am amazed how many people are almost blackout drunk at games. And I'm thinking, you spent all this money and you have no memory of this game. Now, I'm not much of a drinker, but I just think that's stupid. Now, you put a plate full of donuts in front of me and I have my problem. So, I mean, everybody has their own. Are you going to do a Derby video, Abe? Yeah, Abe, Friday. I don't pick the race until Friday. Kentucky Derby is Saturday. I've been so busy with so many things. I'm like, what? I mean, normally I'd be packing my bag and leaving. I did 20 Derbies earlier in my career. And I'm known as something of a horse guy. So I'll put out my picks on Friday. Once I make sure nobody's standing in a stall in a bucket of ice like I've seen happen before. And everybody say, oh, he's fine. And then after the race, they go, yeah, he was messed up. Case of beer and nice TV, and I'll pretend I'm in the front row. Brian, here's the great thing coming. The technology, this 5G stuff is just a start. And the NFL, they talk about it inside about how it's going. The new technologies are going to make you feel like you're sitting there. You put on one of those virtual headsets, and they've got a lot of stuff they're working on. And you're going to feel like you are there. Just like they were telling me, they got this thing where there's a concert in Rome that you can buy a ticket, put on that headset, and feel like you're in Rome sitting in that theater. That stuff's coming. So it's, going to the game is not going to be the thing as it used to be. Steve, they might as well turn Northwest Stadium into a shopping center. Well, we'll see. Yeah, you're on the right path, I think. Guillermo, thank you so much. Guillermo is one of my favorite people because He appreciates me, so I appreciate him. Hassani, got to find out what horses are out there. Well, I mean, listen, there's a horse named Journalism that's the favorite, but I don't play that kind of game of picking horses based on a name. So, Miko, is the yellow face mask coming back this year? Haven't heard yet. Antoinette, what will Josh Harris do with Northwest? Well, in the Cook's original agreement with the county, Prince George's County, or PG, for those of us who grew up in it, it's going to land stuff's going to revert to the county. Matter of fact, in 2027. So Josh Harris is going to have to be paying different kind of money the last few years staying there. Yeah, Steve, I tell you, technology by 2030 is going to be so mind blowing. It already is mind blowing when you think about it. But, so you'll be watching a game with a big screen TV, but you're going to be watching it in virtual reality kind of stuff. I wish they could let you really feel the impact. You would be crying on your couch, man. These dudes are big. They should have a choice on TV to watch the crowd, sideline cheerleaders. Well, it's probably all coming, Mike, as part of this new technology. I wouldn't be surprised. My grandson was on the Jumbotron yesterday at Nats Park twice. I hate to think what he did to get on it, but he's 5. We'll have to forgive him. So when you think all the NFL owners will start taking this up at NFL meetings, they like to plan long term. True, they've been talking about it. That's why Dan Snider had to leave. It wasn't about anything other than he couldn't deliver a new stadium and make more money for his fellow owners, because visiting teams get 40%. And quite frankly, they were 80-90% of the fans sometimes in recent years. So they were other owners were kind of ticked at him. And then with all this scandal, the politicians ran from Dan, and then it became very apparent they couldn't pull off a stadium like this. And that's when the other owners ganged up on him and said, "You're out of here." It's all about the money. 16K televisions. Wow, that would be cool, I guess, Steve. I can't even think what that would be. George, well, yes, Westmore did try to keep the Commanders. I mean, he gave it a shot. But, at the end of the day, the team really wanted to go back to RFK. Although Josh Harris talked about it today about nostalgia. But listen, it wasn't just about getting a stadium. It's about getting 180 acres of control of other things, too. They're going to make money 6 ways a Sunday, just like the Learners did it at the Navy Yard around Nats Park. That's, wasn't not the baseball team that really made them the money. It's everything else. And that's kind of what's going to happen here some, too. All right, I got 20 minutes to go. Woo, we haven't talked about draft. Nobody wants to talk about that. I'd like to design a new stadium, internet. I mean, just kind of looking at that picture of it, looks beautiful. We'll see. I think they should have a Legends Park at this new venue. We're using the new technologies and doing things like have Daryl Green's image race down a wall, run that 40 against where you can run against them. Get your kid out. Let's go. I think that would be awesome. I think there's a lot of things you could do to feel the game and feel the players. And I hope they do it. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff. I personally hope they have bouncing stands in the new stadium. RFK's bouncing stands were because they were the baseball stadium stands they pulled out for the game and put back. So, because RFK was the very first dual purpose stadium in the country. They would build 7 of them, and they've all been knocked down since. But that's back when teams weren't as rich, and they split a stadium versus, owning their own. So you would see baseball infields carved into football fields. So suddenly you go from the turf to the dirt. Well, now the NFL is so big they can have their own. Anyway, okay. So, Joe, I think edge rusher should have been addressed. I absolutely agree with you. I mean, would taking one versus the offensive tackle or the DB they took? Probably not, because by that point they were down to like the 6th best or something. But I was surprised. And maybe they'll sign a free agent out there. But listen, anybody really good is not hanging out there. Help ain't coming, to be honest. Let's see. Hassani, what undrafted free agents do you like that the Commanders picked up? Barely looked at the list. I didn't see anything that really registered with me. So I think they took a Virginia Tech quarterback, but I'm having trouble keeping up with college ball now because this NIL has turned everything into a mini NFL. I mean, worse than basketball, I think, but it just kind of made it harder to keep track of things. Gregory, do you think Harris will chip in money to Maryland to help revive Landover? Well, they've got promises that they're going to do certain things, but nobody ever talks about exactly what those things are. So we'll see on that. Let's see. I guess I should do a commercial here where I say, don't forget that I do videos every morning, 6 a.m. here on YouTube. And then on the other social medias, they show up when I wake up. So more like 7. I haven't been able to sleep in much lately, but I'm going to try tomorrow. And, I do have the show 52 Questions for God that's on Sunday mornings at 6 a.m. And a lot of people unfollow me because we do that once a week and they can't stand it, I guess. That's your problem, quite frankly. And you can take it up with God later. But I have 52 questions that I do with the Reverend. We talk about them. They're about 5 minutes. We don't talk forever about this. But there are things that, if we're all made in God's image, how come we don't look the same? I look better than some of you. Not as good as some of the others, but just simple questions about, hey, where is this? You don't hear a priest ever talk about this stuff. So I'm doing it with an old friend of mine who's a reverend, and it's on the show. So if you'd like to see it, I appreciate you watching. Okay, Gregory, I hope RFK looks better than AT&T Stadium. Well, I hope so too. Yeah. Hassani, I don't know what you're laughing about, but okay. Salute. I don't know exactly what that one is. I don't know how bad AT&T really is. 70 chip. I haven't heard you from a while. Been hearing a lot of good things about the running back. Yeah, I mean, I heard about him too, but why did he go in the 7th round? Well, he played one game last year. He was hurt. But, pardon me if I'm a little skeptical. I don't think he's going to sit Brian Robinson down on the ground. But maybe he'll be something, buddy. He's got upside. I will say about that, he has an upside. So maybe they get lucky and he's really good. We'll see. Joe, I'm glad you like the other videos. And I do tourism videos sometimes too. This is all free. It's not like you're not getting your money's worth. So if you're like, I don't want to watch this, well, don't. It's America. I can't make you. We're not going to come by and tape your eyelids open. But I do other stuff too, because frankly, I get bored too. I've been covering sports for 47 years. I've seen this stadiums like stories and all this enough. Gregory asking about, did they sign a relative of Sean Taylor? Yeah, his younger brother, Gabe, who did not get drafted, and he is coming for a rookie camp. Rookie camp is next week. End of the week. I haven't heard the date, but I think it's either Thursday or Friday. I like rookie camps. I'm going to try and go again. We'll see if I can, because it's the first look, and I can see a lot. Like I love to look at draft picks at rookie camp because show me what you got right away. Show me, when they do stretching to start it all. I looked at it and said that first rounder is into it. Okay, or Sam Cosmi really impressed me with like that when he did it. I said, there's somebody that's come to play. Versus I've seen first rounders sit in the back gabbing, halfway doing it. And I'm like, this guy thinks that he's entitled to stuff. You just get a little insight into people's mindsets doing this. I thought Sam Howell, first day, I thought, ooh, I like what I see here. Didn't know that he'd start the whole season. But you get it, first impressions. Jordan Reed, first time I saw him, I was like, who's that? Because I don't have the numbers memorized first day. And I was like, that's Jordan Reed. Okay. So you can, but there are other guys I've seen too. I thought, no. So, if you've been watching a long time, you can notice these things. How good is Sean's brother? I don't really know, Sonny. I've heard a lot about him. I think he's an okay player, but you're going to expect him to be Sean, and he's not going to be Sean. So, Sean was, a one of a kind missile that hit people. So I wish him well, but in a way, I think it would have been easier on him to go to another team. But this is just an invite to rookie camp. This is not signed to the 53 or the 7, 70, whatever. It's 90 thing now. So there's no For sure. I don't know that it was a mercy thing because he had several options. So not Dan Snider would have put him on the team, no doubt. Would have handcuffed the coaching staff and made him, just like Dwayne Haskins' situation. So um, I don't know what'll happen. We'll see. See what he's got. Let's see. Or a practice squad, maybe. I couldn't judge him at this point to say it what'll happen. Gregory, DC has a lot of low income families. That the new stadium be able to be used year round. Yeah, it is. I mean, there's a lot. You don't build a $3.7 billion stadium and just play 10 football games. They're going to keep that, and it's going to have a roof and all that. So they're going to keep it busy. And that's great because it'll do a lot of jobs. They expect 2,000 permanent jobs. That's game staff, that are going to be working a lot. Ushers, concessions, all these things. It's jobs. 2,000 jobs. Take them. This city's reforming. The federal government is downsizing. So I've noticed some people who've lost their jobs, haven't been laid off 8 times in my life. I get it. So I'll take whatever new economic development we can get for everybody. I mean, I'm kind of retiring, so I'm not worried about me, but I worry about younger people. Suzanne, thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoyed 52 questions. There's a lot of people that do. It's quick. It's easy. You get to answer a question. I try to make them interesting questions, but and you also hate the black uniforms. Thank you. I hate the black uniforms because it's not the Washington Commanders. And I just don't like them. Brian, someone told to me Washington named for Christian McCaffrey. Do you know if that's true? Oh, we traded for him. No, not that I know of, unless it's happened in the last half hour. I haven't heard that. Steve, you'll get a lot of venue with concerts and the NCAA's. I mean, listen, it's a covered stadium, so you can do anything. It's a Super Bowl, an Olympics, or even whatever major events the big stadiums hold. You can have that Bananas Savannah Bananas team. So they sold out 80,000 tickets to a game. Man, I mean, I know it's fun, but wow. Gregor, are you surprised the DC mayor was able to get a Commanders deal? Well, no, not exactly. I mean, she appreciates what this is worth. So she's one of those people that knows that sports venues are great for cities. Nats Park took over a dilapidated part of town, the southern entrance into the city that I go through all the time. And I used to think, this is embarrassing for the nation's capital to have your first impression of people coming through the city. You can see the Capitol, and it looks like a war zone. Changed it all, That's what they're hoping this will do. The Eastern Gateway, which is where RFK is. Honestly, the last big thing they built in that area was RFK. I mean, the Armory, I've heard nothing about the Armory moving. And I heard today that was 1945. And it's just a big barn. I was really surprised they're not doing anything with that. It's not like they, need that. They can't rework that somewhere else. So, I'm not surprised now. Can they get it past the council? I think at the end of the day, yes, but I just think it's going to be a lot of political favors being cashed in, for those needed votes. You got to have a 7-6 majority to pass it because the city council controls the money in the budget. So the mayor runs a lot of things, but the money goes through the council. So that's why, it's going to be really important. You're going to hear tomorrow some, council people that are very skeptical of this until they get something for their district and then they'll pass it. But, we'll see. What about parking at Metro, Antoinette? Well, you can park at a Metro station, and take a Metro to the game. And Sunday parking at Metro is free. The one day it's free. So that's, fine if you want to do that. Let's see. Would be a great concert. Yeah, Hassani. I mean, I used to see concerts at RFK. I think the last one I saw might have been Elton John and Billy Joel. So I know it was the day before I left for training camp, so somewhere in the mid 90s. I think this is the last time I saw one there. But I took my daughters to see NSYNC at RFK. Whew, you talk about loud, like 60,000 screaming teenage girls. And the parking lot that night was so bad and it rained. I didn't see it. I hit a pothole in RFK's parking lot so hard that my rear view mirror fell off. Bam! I'm amazed I didn't blow a tire. They don't exactly keep up maintenance in that place. I hate to even think what it's like now. Gregory, surprised this happened so quickly. Well, they've been talking about it for a while. I think the mayor pretty much said today that she got to Josh and said, "Listen, we're doing this or we're not. What do you want to do? If you're not, then we're moving on to other options at that venue because they wanted to develop that part. So if they couldn't make a deal here anymore, they were ready to move on because now they finally have the land control. After that bill at the end of the year, very end of the year, that got them. So it's only been about 4 months since they've had control of the property. And Congress, which this is still national parkland, but Congress gave them a 99-year lease. So kick it down the road and worry about it later. So it's still, U.S. government land, but they had to get that. So that's why it took a while to get this. But finally, they were lined up and said, "We're ready to go. If you are, if not, we'll find another partner." Roy, the DC Army is staying put. Yeah, that's what I've heard too. And I don't know. It's not like they keep tanks there. There isn't another property they could reform to do a National Guard, that kind of thing. Again, I don't know. Not my that's not my concern for once. Gregory, does this have to be voted on by DC residents? No. Nope. Your elected representatives will decide this for you. Robert, remember the Indy car race? Yeah, through the parking lot. Well, I was just driving my minivan or whatever it was, and that got screwed. But at least they paved the parking around there. I was in Las Vegas last fall, a few weeks before their race car thing, paving all the roads and everything. Hey, whatever. It's like every 4 years, Pennsylvania Avenue is completely repaved right before the inauguration. So the new president goes down that parade route, sometimes walks a little bit of it, brand new road. That's how Pennsylvania Avenue gets made, maintenance. If we have a parade with tanks coming in June, which is rumored, hadn't been finalized yet, that's going to just kill DC's roads. A tank, we're going to fall through the street down into the river below. What's the minimum vote by DC Council to pass the stadium deal? Well, there are 13 members, so you merely just have to have a simple majority, Mike, 7-6. That's what Nats Park was, 7-6. I went back and read the stories recently, just make sure my mind was clear on that, because that happened like in 2003. Let's see, Steve, we just have to wait for the council to approve it. Yeah, it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's going to take a little while. It takes time to figure out what you want for your vote. Alexander, it looks like the Nats have a star, James Wood. Well, I mean, they've been talking about James Wood for several years now, and he's coming through. I mean, what's he have? 8 homers last I checked. They've got the Nats have some nice, positional talent. It's the pitching that's killing them. If they can work that out, and they have the first pick in the draft this year. So maybe they'll find another guy like Strasburg. Rome wasn't built in a day. That's right, Stevie. They took a few days to build that one. It took a few days to tear it down, too. I've been to the Roman Coliseum, and it kind of reminded me a little of RFK. In a way, maybe because it's old, but I just thought, this is cool. This is where sports began. This is the blood in the sand that we all have heard about, So that was a cool experience. The one thing, if you go to the Roman Coliseum, they always talk about pickpockets are everywhere in that area. So put your wallet in your front pocket. Gregory, I heard rumors Washington Commanders hope the DC Council votes by July. Well, I'm sure they hope a lot of stuff. I would think so. That's reasonable, that not to have to go past that. You keep going past that, it's going to be hard to make these timetables. Craven, an enclosed stadium makes my blood boil. Hey, man, rich people don't like sitting in the stands cold. They want a nice climate-controlled thing, And we're, listen, this is Washington. We're not used to the cold. I would take air conditioning inside over. You ever been to RFK in the summertime Dude, it is oppressively hot in that stadium because that overhang it has just keeps the humidity and everything down in there. At night, it gets hotter inside RFK. So, nah. And I spent years in there in that press box where it was open air and no heat and no AC. I don't know when they stopped working, but they never did when I was there. And I would have, God, I was so cold one night at RFK. I was trying to finish. I'm down to typing with two fingers. I'm about crying. It's so cold. My hands could barely move. And all I could think of was, I just want to get back to my car and turn on the heater. That's what it was like there. We had metal folding chairs. We had green hot dogs. Yeah, they didn't treat the press very correct, but we did have midfield seats in the mezz, unlike now. 70 chip. Do you think the sitting president in 2030 attends the opening game? Okay, so I guess President Trump is good till 2026 election now? No, 28. I'm sorry, 28. So in January 29, there's supposed to be a new president unless they change the Constitution. And I have no idea who that would be. But I would say probably, sure, why not? It's a free ticket for them. Alexander, it looks like there are already 4 members that will vote yes. So there were 4 members of the council at this, victory celebration downtown today as a National Press Club. So you figure they're voting yes. So I need 3 more to at least do it. Gregory, please open a Five Guys in a new stadium. I heard they're building one like a mile from where I live. I love Five Guys, but I don't eat there often because I don't eat a lot of burgers and fries. But I'll take Five Guys over all of you watching from around the nation and world. Five Guys beats In-N-Out every day. Beats Whataburger every day. Beats any of these chains every day. Five Guys is the best, and they give you extra fries. So I'll die on that hill. Let's see. 2029, would season tickets be available or maybe before? Freon. It really won't be available until 2030, more or less. Maybe January, before that season. Something like that. Maybe December of 2029. Maybe. Oh, Thomas is here. I love Thomas. Did me a favor. And Thomas, I just finished planting everything. So Thomas helped me with my garden. So I put the corn in today. And my son-in-law said, wait a minute, I need room for wheat. What? Whatever. I planted sunflowers, corn, and onions. But now I guess we're putting in wheat. Okay. But I left a little bit of land for him. Alexander, Five Guys is not overrated. You stop that nonsense. Shake Shack makes a nice chicken sandwich. Fries are trash. And the burger's just a burger. So quit talking nonsense. That's right. Mike, he's talking about Mosley. Mark Mosley didn't start Five Guys. It was out there. I've actually written about this. It was a man and his 4 sons. That's Five Guys. Mosley went to them and said, hey, we could franchise this. And they're like, bah. The old man said, I thought he was nuts. But I told Mosley, go ahead. Mosley did a great job making all those guys rich. Craven, Five Guys is number 1. Not debatable. Correct. Freon, Burger Fi is close second to Five Guys. What's Burger Fi? Never heard of it. Oh, and I went to Jack in the Box when I was in Las Vegas last fall. Had never been to a Jack in the Box. I always heard about it. To me, it seemed like it was a Wendy's that also made terrible tacos for you to eat. They were terrible. That was the only thing extra they had, just a burger place. So I was disappointed. I was hoping for something good. In-N-Out is really good, but it's not better than Five Guys. Thank you, Craven. You're correct. Gregory, I saw in Commander Stadium you already get a new stadium deposit information today. I haven't heard that yet. Okay. Five Guys is the best. Hassani's there with me. Popeyes and Wendy's, well, they have the best chicken. I don't know, Steve. I mean, Popeyes makes a good chicken sandwich. I'm not knocking it. Wendy's, I'm trying to remember last time I ate one there. Karash, did you see that some of the NFL draft commercials leaked that the Commanders are going back to the yellow face mask? I've heard of it. Have not seen anything official on that. Blonde Patriot, thank you for calling. Welcome to the show, even though we're getting ready to. Oh, man, I've already gone over. Well, yeah, if you have missed it, um, let me just say this. I mean, Sonic Dairy Queen is great, but I did not go to the draft party. Antoinette had other things to do. Uh, did I ever go fishing on the bay, Mike? Yeah, I actually got a citation once for big rockfish I caught. Yeah, it's cool. Blonde Patriot, you didn't eat fast food. You're not missing anything. Hollywood Buffalo Wild Wings chicken sandwich is the bomb. Well, I'll just say I've tried Buffalo Wild Wings twice, and I thought that I hated their wings. Hated them. So I don't know what their sandwich is like. Blonde is I made homemade pizza tonight on my channel. Oh, really? Okay, this sounds good. Go ahead, plug it. Tell me what your channel is. And we'll all go there because I have a big pizza following. Um, I don't know. I've got to try some new pizza. I haven't done that in a while. Crush. So now that the draft is finished, what's happened to the new uniforms? Okay. All right. You guys got to stop with uniform stuff right now. I don't know. I've heard rumors, but I can't tell you for sure. Blonde Patriot, your channel. Okay, everybody. So I'm getting ready to go off. You now go over to Blonde Patriot and see whatever she's up to on her channel. Korean barbecue doesn't really interest me much, Mike. I've tried it, but it's okay. But yeah, Steve agrees with me on Buffalo Wild Wings. I just disappointed. I'm not from Philly. I'm from Washington, D.C. It's Washington with an R if your family's been here forever like mine. Greg, I do think the deal gets passed. Yeah, people have told me that I sound like South Jersey, but I don't know. I'm not. I'm from here. My dad was from Carolina, so sometimes I get Southern in me talking, especially if I'm talking with other Southerners. And it reminds me of my dad, who had a big old accent. He'd go, "Boy, help me, help you. What is it? What? Help me? What are you talking about? You're saying help me." We used to get some players like Fred Smoot. Fred Smoot has a big Southern accent, and Fred would go talk about the cones on the field, and I'm thinking he's talking about like orange traffic cones. What are you talking about? He's saying corners, cones. You know, Rod Gardner. I swear to God, I couldn't figure his accent out at all. I mean, just I'd have listened to the tape again and still not know. So Blonde's from Georgia. There you go. I guess you're a peach. Don's Woodfire Pizza in Ashburn. I am not sure, Bob. If you're still on here, where'd we go? We went to a place near there. I've heard about that. I know. Okay. Bobby Mitchell's always said Washington. Well, Bobby Mitchell wasn't from here, but a lot of people say Washington. It's a sign that your family's been here multi generations usually. I don't know why Bobby said it, but if you go like to Seattle, they say Washington too with an R. We're descended from pirates. I don't know. Well, Hollywood, I haven't had their fried chicken breast. I've just had their wings. I didn't like them. Okay. All right. We're after 9. Actually, went over 5 minutes on here. So remember, 6 a.m. videos every day. 52 questions for God. You can watch it any day you want, but new ones are up Sunday mornings on that. I'm hoping to have some new stuff. I have a cookbook coming out soon. It was going to be out already, but my graphic designer got sick and had to withdraw. So Secrets of Caveman Cooking for today's Caveman will be coming out probably near Memorial Day, which is only a month away. Surprisingly, man, this year, see, the older you get, the faster time goes for some reason. Got to tell you, that's true. I thought it was April 1st or something. It's the 28th already. Oh, good. On Patreon, I'll make sure don't worry. You're new to the show, but you'll see me plug the book on there. Thanks, Antoinette. Appreciate you coming. One of these days we got to meet on there. Thomas, I'm getting ready for the cookout. Yeah, I actually drove by your street Sunday. Yeah, yesterday, and I saw the Hoffman Street, and I thought, oh, that's where he is. So good. I'm looking forward to eating. Maybe meet some new people. He lives near me. So for those out there, so if you live near me and want to buy me a food, I'm okay with that. Or do me a favor, I'm okay with that. Mike Caveman. Yeah, I wrote a book about caveman cookies. It's outdoor grilling. So I wrote it in 2000. I got the rights back and I'm redoing the book. See you tomorrow. Okay, Robert, thank you for coming. Great day to be a fan. That's right. It was a positive day, and we didn't even talk about the draft any. Wow, I was studying up the draft, make sure I could answer questions, but don't ask them now because I'm going out of here. Anyway, thank all of you once again so much for coming into the show. I do appreciate it. Hey, it's the off season, yeah, but we still have something to talk about. With the camps coming, I'll still be doing the shows till mini camp, which is in the middle of June. And then I'll probably take a month off until camp starts. Because last year I did all Mondays from July to like February. So gotta have a little free time. That's what I kept telling everybody. I'm marking the end of my days, covering things. I thought I'd retire after this last season, changed my mind. So I'm in for another year. But you want to go. I was out pitching with my grandson, and I said, "Okay, we got to finish. I got to go do a show." Say, I can't even talk to you guys. I'm pitching to my grandson, but he was taking me deep. So he was kind of ticking me off. Yeah. So my other grandson's a little older. He likes to brag when he hits one. So then I nail him in the gut and teach him a little respect. He's a big sissy anyway. I don't hit him that hard. Anyway, thank you all. Like I said, thank you all so much for coming, and I will see you soon.